Hi, this is Drew Tignanelli. This is our May update, and we're, 45 days into this U.S. pandemic crisis?
Is it only 45?
It seems like an eternity, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, it's driving a lot of people batty, and you would expect that, but we have to persevere. You know, we have to just keep going. I think Vice President Pence said it really well last week when he said, today is April 27th, I'll say, and we are one day closer to the end of this. And every day we get up, we're one day closer, because there will be an end.
Yeah, absolutely.
There will be absolutely an end. And, you know, somehow or another, within a year at the most, this thing's going to be over. People are going to be immunized or whatever. And we won't have the situation to worry about. But anyway, let's look at what are we dealing with in the markets? You know, get a lot of people calling up and they're saying, oh, you know, this is horrible. And then I get a whole nother group of people calling up and saying this is the buy-in opportunity of a lifetime. I think both are right and both are wrong all at the same time. And I think that markets clearly have some issues that they're going to have to resolve. But at the same time, the future is brighter than ever. I don't care, about the pandemic. I know the crises it's created, but the future is still brighter than ever. You look at the advances that technology is making, and you look at the advancement of people in poverty coming up into the middle class throughout the world.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and people, they're always pessimists out there that are going to say, this is the end.
This is it, yeah.
This is Armageddon, et cetera, et cetera. And if I felt that it really was, I'd be the first to be telling you. But I think this is nothing more than another bump along the road.
And like many bumps, those bumps can actually help show us new things and new ways of doing things, and they can actually help improve the future. We talked about that a little bit in the last video, that some of the things we learn out of going through the pandemic will help guide us to be better in the future.
Correct, absolutely. I mean, could you imagine being an investor in 1931 when the markets were going down by 90% and you were headed into the Great Depression? But yet it would have been one of the greatest buying opportunities ever. I mean, there was not a buying opportunity better than, I think it was March or April of 1932 when the market hit bottom, but you would have never known when that bottom was going to happen.
And for perspective, I think if we could pull someone from the past to the present and tell them about how I had to use chicken thighs instead of chicken breasts, how, it's just like the 30s, I think they'd have a few words with it.
They would definitely be. Or World War II, where you went to the grocery store or whatever and you had a ration card and you were only allowed to get a certain amount of things of so much here and there. I mean, it's just, I understand it's tough, and I'm struggling just as much as everyone, but I wake up each morning and make a choice to say that, I'm going to be as positive and upbeat as I can be, not just for myself, but for everyone, because people don't need me grumbling, saying, oh, I got tax season, and I got a crashing stock market, and I got a pandemic, and clients are, and I got employees are working from home. They don't need that. They need to say, hey, this is tough. I know it's tough, but that's when you should prove your muster. You should
Absolutely.
Prove who you are. As I said it in our last commentary. It's that things that happen to our life we can't control, but how I respond to them will define who I am, and I do control that. And we're choosing to respond to this and saying that we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this positively. We're going to do everything possible to make sure that we're making thoughtful moves as to how to help our clients through this, and be there, answering their emails, being there on the phone when they call, not telling them that, oh, my inbox is too loaded to do, I don't need to hear that. They don't need to hear that. And so I expect the market to possibly make a retracement, maybe take another chance to try to go lower. Right now it's trying to go higher. I think that the market's going to do that, and who knows which one of these breakouts is going to be the one that'll never look back again. But sooner or later, there will be one that never looks back again. Keep in mind that in 1917, when the Spanish flu broke out, 1/3 of the world population was infected with the Spanish flu. 10% of those infected were ultimately died. 10%. 1/3 of the, even if COVID was allowed to run rampant, it doesn't look like it was ever going to infect 1/3 of the population. Right. And about only 5% of those that actually were infected will pass away, more than likely. And compared to the Spanish flu, this is nothing. And the greatest economic revival prior to this one in the last 10 years, the second greatest one was the one in the 1920s, 1919 through 1929. It was an incredible economic advancement of the stock market and of just science and technology and all those kind of things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we just need to remember that and know that we're going to get through this. So what else are we talking about today?
Well, we know that everybody's situation is different. So some people out there are really struggling in different ways. If you're a healthcare worker in one of these facilities, I'm sure that you've got your own struggle. But for the many of us working from home, that's various differences there. If you've got children and they're also their teacher and trying to work from home too, you don't have much time. But there is a number of people, even including and especially the retired community, that has a bit more time, because since you can't go out, you can't do other things, you're stuck at home. And what we thought is, one of probably the most painful parts of being a financial planner is knowing that we write these wonderful financial plans, we get these great action item lists, here's what you got to get done, and years go by, and we try to work with our clients, and we try to bring it up at the PFR meetings, and we try to make everybody through this, but there's always those one or two items that no one ever has time to get them done. So if you're at home, and you can, this may be a great time to get some of those planning items done that you've been putting off. The first one that came to my mind is that still, no matter how hard we beat the drum, a lot of our clients don't utilize any cash flow systems, a tracking system for knowing how much you spent, where you spent it. And as Graham Ewing, one of our advisors, does, he ties each of his spending with values, and I think that's a really wonderful thing. But there's really no better exercise to go through for your personal financial health than to do a cash flow. So Mint.com is one. Even just an Excel spreadsheet. Are there any other tools that you come to your mind?
Well, I use Quicken.
Quicken.
But it's a acquired taste to like to use
It
Quicken.
is acquired. And your computer's also going to have to decide that it'll actually accept and run Quicken. But Mint.com is probably one of the most popular ones.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
So that was one item. Another item that hits home for me, it was an article I wrote some time ago, but one of the things I think people miss, especially if you're a retiree at home or just anyone who's thinking about your accumulation of stuff and what is going to happen to it in the future. If you have things around that you're not using anymore, try to really think about, is this something that I want to leave to my children? Is this something that my grandchildren want? Is this something my children want? And if you're not using it anymore and you don't think they're going to want it, you have a lot more time right now to try to put some thought into that. And if something is of value, figure out, where and how it could be sold, or where and how it could be donated or moved on. So this is a great time to look at the stuff we have accumulated, the stuff that we may not need anymore, and whether
this is probably the number one topic, Mike, that paralyzes people that are older to make a decision to move on from their family home.
Right.
Because
how can I move all that stuff?
They just in their mind they start thinking about 60, 50, 40 years of accumulation in that house, and it just paralyzes. Whereas now, if you just start taking the time to going through it, you'll find that it's a lot easier to get through than you ever imagined, and you don't have to, but you just start to,
Yeah, absolutely. And even if that's not the scenario. It's younger families, preparing things for the Goodwill. This is a great time to just declutter. When you feel more organization around you, you act more organized.
But if you're going to do the Goodwill thing, always remember it's deductible. It's a free program online. It's done by the same people who do TurboTax.
Yep, Intuit.
And
Mint.com.
And Mint, they do that also. Yep. And what you do is you put every item in. Men's shirt, good condition. Ladies' blouse, good condition. Sofa, very good condition. Etc. You put everything in, and it immediately records each one and gives you a fair, tax-deductible, defendable number that when you go to do your tax return, it'll say, this is how much you should be allowed to deduct on this.
And it's totaled at the bottom, which is something that your tax advisor really appreciates. It's already totaled.
It actually prints the 8283s out, not that we could use them easily because we'd have to restart them.
Right, absolutely. Well, so that's a great thing to be doing right now. Drew, why don't you share the last item that you had brought up that, we talk about people doing it all the time, but people don't take the time to do it.
So you've got the credit freeze. Credit freeze says that nobody can take out credit in my name unless I thaw my credit report. It's very important. You need to get to freeze Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. There's a small one known as Innovis or Innovis, whatever you want to call it. But that's one that a lot of people don't know. You get in touch with your advisor, your relationship manager, they'll get you all 4 links. This is very different than when you call up the company and say, hey, I think somebody could potentially have my social security number or something, and the credit bureau says, okay, we're going to put a freeze on your account. This is very different because that really is just an alert that lasts maybe 6 months or a year. This is a permanent freeze that nobody can get through unless you thaw that credit report.
And it's not the thing that tells you you've already had credit opened in your name, right? The monitoring.
No,
monitoring is after.
It's not LifeLock or anything like that where it's more of a satellite looking down and saying, Drew, somebody just tried to apply for credit in your name, I mean, that's too late. I don't want that. I want, they come in and they hit this impenetrable wall, and that's what a credit freeze is,
And it doesn't cost anything. If you're on a website.
Not anymore.
Yeah, if you're on a website and it's saying, hey, you're going to have to pay for this, you're on the wrong website.
Yeah, so that's very important. There are no RMDs this year, Mike, so it's important that you get in touch with your advisor and talk about Roth conversions and what does it mean not to have any RMDs. It's important to talk to your advisor about the Qualified Charitable Distribution. If you're over 70 and a half, that's the way to pay your charity. There's lots of issues, and now you got the time to some degree, Also
everybody's different, like we said. Yeah,
everybody's different, but you might have more time to do some of this stuff than you did before. And also, I want to just remind our clients that we are still open for business. We've been working remotely with clients. We did a financial physical about 10 years ago with somebody in the Jordanian embassy.
Yep.
So if our clients
There was a U.S. citizen, if the SEC is watching.
Yes, if the SEC is watching, U.S. citizen in U.S. State Department, so therefore it was legal to do that. And but the point is if you have friends or family that you've been pleased with the way we've helped you through this situation, and you know that maybe others haven't had as good an experience, and they want to talk to somebody, that we're open for business, been.
We'd love to do a plan. We'd love to get some financial plans going for people that need them and people we can continue to help. Yeah, because we're doing plenty. I just got off of a call with one of them just a little bit ago. So we've been doing remote. Nothing stopped us. We didn't have to learn how to work from home when all this happened, and that's a lot of that goes to your hard work. You got us into a place where we were doing cloud computing and video conferencing and so forth a long time ago, and so when this happened, nothing really. The only difference was people didn't get to come in
and socialize as we used to.
And my dry cleaning bill went down.
You're driving, and our driving gasoline bills
gasoline
and
bills
service,
went down.
auto service costs of the company went down, and in-service lunches went down. A lot of
Yeah, a lot of
goods
things
and
went
bads.
down.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of good and bad in that, but anyway, so
One thing out of place, I just want to bring it up because you were talking about how there's no RMD this year, and a question that I've gotten a lot
what's
of
an
times.
RMD, by the way?
Required minimum distribution from an IRA
A retirement
or
account.
a
yeah.
retirement account. Something that is, it's always worth discussing what other opportunities are, but if you are going to be charitably minded, if you're going to be giving, a lot of people are thinking, well, with no RMD, I'm not doing QCDs this year. Not necessarily. It still may be the right place to give your gift from, but so don't write it
QCD,
off.
what's that mean?
Sorry, good for you. Thank you for asking. Qualified Charitable Distribution.
Right, there you go.
So-
Yes, absolutely.
So no, don't write it off, but it doesn't mean we still can't look at other options.
I've made it very clear to our clients that anyone who talks to me, I say, if you're going to give to charity, give it through your IRA. It's very important, but you have to be 70 and a half. That's one of the negatives that in the law.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do it. So anyway, I think we've run out of time here, Michael, and I appreciate all of our clients' support during this time. And if you need anything from us, please don't hesitate to contact us. Anyway, this is Drew Tignanelli saying God bless.